here at Thousand Trails, Green Mountain.
in Lenoir, North Carolina, and this is a campground review.
A new place, a new home, for a while, let me feel alive. Nothing to
General impressions.
This campground has great potential, but it's definitely in need of some upgraded and clean facilities, as well as some grading on the roads to help the large rigs get in and out.
The cost for us was free because we're Thousand Trails members, but for non-members it costs $61 per night. The value that we give on this cost is a 2, because we feel like for that price we would definitely expect some upgraded and upkept facilities. Campground.
This campground is very long and winding, and they make a pretty big deal about it being around for 70 years.
Some of the roads are asphalt and the asphalt is crumbling. Some of the roads are gravel and they definitely need to be regraded. They've got big potholes, and some of the roads were closed altogether. There were lots of sharp turns, narrow bridges, and some really steep grades for big rigs.
There are also several turns that both go down and turn at the same time very sharply. So people with a fifth wheel or a gooseneck are going to have some difficulty with your bed potentially touching your trailer if you take the wrong angle on the turn.
They even mentioned on check-in that they had a fifth wheel that got stuck recently. So that says to me they know this is a problem and they haven't fixed it. The campground had no cell phone service and no free Wi-Fi.
It did, however, have tons and tons of long-term campers, and I'm talking about these guys have built skirting and decks and have massive propane tanks all over the park. Mostly, though, they seem to be focused around the front. It makes it so that the transient campers have to go all the way to the back in order to get a site, and there are also many sites that just aren't available for some reason.
One of the things we really liked is that they have a beautiful stocked pond that you can do catch and release fishing from. They do have a lot of the park, though, that looks like it really is in need of upgrades, including the grass between the sites. Not that I'm that tall, but it was up past my knees.
This campground is located very close to Lenoir at less than 10 minutes drive, and it has lots of grocery shopping, places to eat, although some of them we don't really care for now. Some of them were okay.
But stay tuned to the end and we'll tell you our favorite places to go while we were here.
Campsite.
We stayed in campsite number 722. These were assigned, and ours was a pull-through. They did put us at the back of the park where supposedly the best Starlink service is. The area that we are in has a lot of pull-through sites for the transients, and they do have a small strip of grass in between. They have dedicated picnic tables with fire rings at each site, but no grills.
Picnic tables, in fact, in this campground, surprisingly, are numbered, which is unique.
Right,
I've
never seen that before, but it's smart because it makes sure that they don't wander off.
And people don't make picnic rings with their picnic
Not that
tables.
we've ever seen that before. Hashtag Soul Dead, Thousand Trails.
We'll link that video up here.
This campsite was definitely not level front to back. We didn't really have any problems with it from side to side, but I mean, this site and most of these sites, but a lot of them even have like the travel trailers are all the way down almost so that the tongue is sitting on the gravel in the front and the back is way up in the air. So definitely not level.
Yeah, if you look at our pictures that we posted, you'll see that our ramp for the back deck is not in place. And that is not because we didn't bring it. It is because it is impossibly steep for our dogs to get down off the back deck.
Most sites seem to have full hookups, 50 and 30 amps, so hashtag 50. There were some that looked like they were partial hookups. There's also a dump station listed on the map, but try as we might, we could not find it in the campground. We did go on a search for it just so we could give you guys a clear answer as to whether or not they had it. We could not find this dump station. So while it's listed on the map, I don't think that it's here in person anymore. I think it was something that they had previously and just haven't updated the map. They also do not have propane refill here, so you're going to want to hashtag fill her up before you get to the campsite. The closest place to do that is probably going to be Tractor Supply, which is about 4 miles away in town.
The campground does have Wi-Fi. I can see it from our campsite. However, it is $8 a day or $60 a month to use it.
60. So we don't know how quick that is because, spoiler, we did not spend the money on that.
Unfortunately, Verizon Wireless is not available at our campsite. It is, I have maybe a half a bar with our cell phone booster, but it seems to be mostly unusable.
We couldn't even get a speed test off of it when we tried.
Right. And our cell phone booster is on the roof, the antenna anyway, so don't plan to have Verizon service out here.
We did have service, though, as soon as we basically left the campground. If you're concerned about that, once you go into town, you do get service in town. It's just not here in the campground itself.
And a hot tip, make sure that you download the offline version of Google Maps when you do have Wi-Fi so that you can, in fact, navigate both to the park, and if you do like we did today and you leave your camper and you're like, oh, I want to go to this restaurant, you're like, oh, wait, I drove away from the camper already. Then we had to stop by down the road where there actually is service and then Google it. We did set up our Starlink antenna, and it is 62 megabits per second down and 7 megabits per second upload. However, we are in the 6 to 700 loop where there is a view of the sky. If you go to any of the other campsites, you're going to get a view of the mountain.
One thing we really enjoyed about this campground, though, was the noise level, or lack of noise level. No trains, no road noise, really no noise to speak of outside, except for nature. I mean, occasionally you do get the car going by in the campground, or the noisy neighbor, but for the most part, what you get is... or maybe you are the noisy neighbor, but for the most part, what you get is nature sounds. And honestly, that's what most of us truly enjoy when we go camping anyway. So you definitely have plenty of that in this campground.
One thing of note, though, is it doesn't seem to be so bad today, but when we first pulled in and there was a lot of clouds in this holler, as I've been told it's called, it echoes.
We're in the Appalachians, y'all, so it's a holler.
I think I called it a gully or a valley or something.
You called it a canyon.
Canyon? Oh.
It's adorable. But I told him it's a holler. and appropriately named, because when you're outside, noise carries. So you find yourself trying to be just a little bit quieter so you don't disrupt the neighbors, especially when you have a dog that has to go to the bathroom after midnight.
Amenities.
The campground had multiple bathhouses scattered throughout the campground. Most of them seemed to have 3 showers in each, and bathrooms as well. The clubhouse also had showers and bathrooms, and they were newly renovated. I would definitely recommend using those.
Totally, because the others were unrenovated. They were in great disrepair, and most of them smelled like mildew and cigarette smoke.
And you pointed out that some of the men's bathrooms were actually unclean. Don't recommend, and I'm glad we don't have smell-o-vision for you guys. The dumpsters are easily located as they are at the very front of the park.
Highly recommend that you take your trash when you go out to eat.
Yeah, the park is about a half mile long, so it's quite a bit of a trek when you're all the way in the back loop so that you have access to Starlink. They do have a laundry room at the clubhouse, and it had 6 washers and 6 dryers, $2 to wash and $2 to dry, depending on which cycle you choose.
We're using our own washer.
Yay! Cost savings! Is that a cost savings?
Not yet. Eventually.
Gotta figure out how many washes that's going to take in order for that to be a cost savings. But they do have a small pool and a splash pad. Unfortunately, they're still closed, so we don't know whether or not they'll open for the season. It does look like they're working on them. At least the pool.
Yeah, the splash pad is kind of dirty right now.
There is a small playground near the clubhouse, and it looks like it's been updated recently. They also have basketball hoops and tennis courts, as well as shuffleboard and horseshoes, and those look like they're in pretty bad disrepair. They also have a small mini golf course, and it looks like it's in better condition than some Thousand Trails we've seen, but it still needs some upgrades. Dog friendliness.
There's multiple grassy areas throughout the park, around the bathhouses, for example, and in places that just are shut down, that have yellow tape across the posts so you can walk your dogs there. There were only 2 dog pickup stations that were fully stocked that we could find, and none of them are in the 600 to 700 loop. So
They're all in the center of the park near the activity center, but there were none at the front of the park or the back of the park.
right, and we're not walking our dogs that far to make a deposit, let's say. So we had to hold our little poop bags at our site until we decided to go out, dump all of the trash
At the front of the park.
at the front of the park. Yeah. Hashtag put in more dog pickup stations. Or more dog pickup stations. Campstore.
This is going to be short. There is no Campstore. There is, however, a Walmart about 4.5 miles away in the city.
Campstaff Interactions.
We had very limited interactions with the camp staff. However, the person who checked us in, as well as the person who is mowing, did seem to take pride in their work, and they were friendly and courteous.
They also called us beforehand to make sure that we would get here before the very strict operating hours that the gate had.
So make sure if you're going to book here that you check the check-in time with, like, they'll send a reservation notification. It's not what's listed on the Thousand Trails website. They don't allow you to check in. I think it's after 6 p.m. and my guess would be because of the roads and the difficulty in navigating the roads. It can be a challenge for big rigs.
Yeah. 10 out of 10. Do not recommend pulling into this campground after dark. Even though you might be able to,
You don't want to.
you don't want it.
Additional information.
The campground does have a really pretty creek that runs through it to the lake and pond. I guess it's all a pond, but it does run to it. Unfortunately, in heavy rains, it does flood a little bit, and the campground itself, at least the 600 to 700 loop, floods and turns your campsites into waterfront property.
In just one storm.
Yeah, I would not be hanging out in a tent outside of your RV if that's your thing, because you're going to get wet. As others have stated in the campground reviews of this place, you do want to make sure that you look for their instructions in your email when they send it to you, because RV GPS did not know that there was a turn, and although it was pointing us in the right direction, it did not tell us to turn, so we continued down the main road,
Which was wrong.
and then we turned around, and Google, on the other hand, did tell us to turn left. We just didn't have it on at the time.
Pro tip, if you're going to come here, put your Google GPS on as well, so it'll catch the turn for you, because it definitely catches it, whereas the RV GPS does not. And now the moment that you've been waiting for, where we tell you how we put this campground into Google reviews and RV Trip Wizard. But before we get to that, if you've watched up to this point, please like and subscribe. It really helps us out. It lets us know that you like this content, and it's free. It's a free way for you to help us and help our channel continue to grow. For rooms, we gave them a 2.
We gave them a 2 because the campsites were extremely unlevel.
There were very narrow bridges to cross and some very tight turns to try to get in. I mean, even into our campsite, there was a pull through. It was across this little tiny narrow bridge that our wheels didn't really have a lot of room left or right. And then they wanted this to make an immediate turn into the pull through. And we ended up having to maneuver. You think pull through and you think easy, we got this. We've been doing this for 3.5 years, guys. And no, it wasn't. It wasn't an easy pull through.
For service, we gave them a 3.
For location, we gave them a 2.
We gave them a 2 because it is definitely more than 3 miles from the main road. It is hard to access, and there are many twisty, turny roads to get down.
And the GPS was not very accurate in getting us here.
The fact that they had to send us instructions on how to get here via email kind of tells you all you need to know.
Overall, we gave this campground a 2.
2.
This campground has so much potential, and I hate that we had to give it a 2 because I love the fact that it's quiet. I love the ponds. It has, like I said, it has a lot of potential, but there are definitely some things that need to be upgraded. It's 70 years old, and they take pride in that. Guys, the RV life has changed a lot in 70 years. The size of rigs has changed a lot, and their roads just do not accommodate large rigs. We'd read that in the reviews, but I was like, it'll be fine. You see like a negative review or two, and you're like, it'll be fine. I might have overestimated how fine it would be.
Some other things to note, there were some negative reviews about safety and security. We didn't really experience anything that we felt wholly unsafe about. There were some very low-hanging wires, however, on the road. We are 13 feet 6 inches tall, and we were able to pass underneath them. There were no wires hanging off our rig, though, when we got to the campground. So.
Which is a good thing. That's a good day.
Yeah, that's a good thing. So watch out for those. We have a gooseneck and a short bed with a 4-inch offset on our gooseneck, and we touched just barely on the pulling in. Maybe there's some dash cam footage.
I think there might be some dash cam footage of this. I haven't seen it yet, but I'm worried about the horrified look on my face. I say, "What's wrong?"
We're touching.
I'm like, "What do you mean touching?" That's not ever words you want to hear. We're touching. We made it in safe and sound, and we think that there might be some adjustments we need to make on our rig because it is new to us. And so we're hoping that that will alleviate the problem. But we know that other fifth wheels have also had problems coming into the campground. So it's something to keep in mind.
Yeah, going around the major corner and hill at the activity center by the miniature golf course was no joke.
Yeah, it was rough. All right, so a few of our favorite places that we really enjoyed, we wanted to share with you guys if you happen to come here, because we promised that at the beginning.
Yep.
So favorite place to eat, I'll say Dos Amigos. It was really good. I love, if you're familiar with our channel, I love sauces. Guys, when we sat down, they brought us 4 different sauces to try. It was 4. It was super inexpensive. For the 2 of us with our drinks and meals, it cost like $30. Great service and great food. So definitely recommend that. For coffee, oh, you don't remember? No, not that. Stop.
What was that place called? Blue Moose.
Blue Moose. It's a little kiosk. It's a drive-through.
It was really good. And there was another place, Camp Coffee Roasters. It was really good, and they're veteran-owned.
Yes, and they have free Wi-Fi. You need a place to go in town where you have tasty coffee and Wi-Fi to, because you don't want to pay the $8 a day. That's a great alternative. Great customer service as well. We won't mention the other places.
They were pretty horrible.
I don't want to call them out though. If you want to know those places, which places to avoid, leave us a message in the comments and we will disclose them. We don't want to put them on blast on the video. But if you're interested, let us know. We're happy to share our experiences, but we'd rather promote the positive places we've been as opposed to the places to avoid. But if you've been to this campground also, please let us know what your experience was and what size rig you brought into this campground.
I want to know if the toy haulers have made it in here, the guys who were like over 45 feet.
Oh my gracious.
I don't think so.
Just don't do it.
Just say no, dude.